Monster Island. Alright, so there was nothing very interesting in theaters this week, and I didn't really have much time to go anyway to check anything out like, I don't know, Primitive War. So instead, I decided to take this week to go through my Shudder backlog and find something I had either missed or was newly uploaded on there in the hopes of maybe finding a hidden gem that people were missing on. Lo and behold, I found this film called Monster Island, or in its Indonesian title, Orang Ikan, which translates to Fishman. You should all know by now that I love me some great Indonesian horror, and apparently this one was in English and Japanese, I guess. Not to mention that it took inspiration from classic golden era creature features, and more specifically the creature from the Black Lagoon with the practical Fishman monster suit. Of course, this movie would be very different from Black Lagoon, and ultimately, it's not very good. The film, unfortunately, takes itself way too seriously and very clearly didn't know what to do with its story for half of the movie. But I'm getting ahead of myself as usual. Does the fish creature make up for the poor story? Do the scares help balance the negatives? What about the acting? Maybe that's a gem. Let's find out. So, what is Monster Island even about? It actually has a surprisingly complicated story to start. The film takes place during World War II in the Pacific, when a Japanese soldier turned traitor is chained to an English POW. The two end up shipwrecked and trapped on a secluded island. Navigating the strange land, the language barrier, and assumptions about each other, the two must band together when they discover the island is inhabited by some strange sort of humanoid fish monster intent on keeping the island for itself. Honestly, I don't hate the story. I think it's serviceable enough and has an interesting connection between its characters. Having to deal with how a POW might react to what he thinks is the enemy works pretty well, all things considered. I kind of wish the Japanese man Saito wasn't a traitor and the story could have been the enemies to friends trope. I feel like that would have worked, but this story still works too. Where the film loses me is mostly in its seriousness. It is way too focused on this story and the strife between the characters that it fails to play around and have fun with the concept. There's no real levity here, and the creature is played in total seriousness. We're supposed to be intimidated by this thing that walks and looks like a person in a suit. There's a katana battle against it at one point, and instead of playing into the camp of a sword fight against a fish monster, it instead expects the audience to be on the edge of their seats and genuinely care about the outcome of the fight. What? The film even has sappy flashbacks to points maybe 45 minutes prior. This is a short film, it's less than 90 minutes. That's not going to work here. But hey, let me calm down for a moment and talk about the good. This film does indeed have some redeeming qualities. Does that negate the bad? No, far from it, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about them. First off, the practical parts of this film are great. The setting looks good, even when some shots are very clearly sets with green screen backgrounds. The actual practical sets and on-screen location areas all look fantastic. They're very pretty and they fit the island theme really well here. I think they went out of their way to shoot on location, even when they didn't need to, but sure, it works. I like it. The Fishman suit also looks really good for the most part. It is a full-on practical costume worn by one guy and is shown off a lot in this movie. Most creature features will hide their practical monsters for late in the film, but this movie clearly commissioned the suit and wanted to get their money's worth with it. So you see everything very often, for better or worse. You see it walk, lunge, scratch, and bite. I'm pretty sure the jaw itself is motorized because it opens and closes pretty mechanically. The only issue with the suit as a whole is that it, well, looks like a suit. Most times in film, the cinematographer needs to take the fakeness into account and shoot around or close up in order to help the audience look at the monster with a sense of disbelief. Here, you just see way too much of the creature that it is just too obvious to tell that it is a suit. The claws on the feet, for example, are too high up, so they don't come flush on the ground when the monster takes a step, making the feet look like shoes. The jaw never fully closes, the spine on the back is crumpled at the base. When there's a full shot of the monster, it's walking way too naturally. It's bipedal with human legs and proportions. I feel like an easy fix, at least for a silhouette or a full body shot here, would be to add a tail and have the actor lean forward a little like a dinosaur. If we can't have the backwards knees, that would at least help a little bit. How it is here, it's just way too human. And while that can work if the film is going for an uncanny valley look, here it just isn't uncanny, it just looks fake. Maybe they didn't have enough budget for a tail or something, but hey, at least the head and the overall design looks cool, and the film is nice enough to let us get full-on looks at the creature constantly, even if it is flawed. Other practical effects are also very, very good. We have some practical gore with limb rips and disembowelment that does look admittedly pretty fake, but it's stylized, so it's forgivable and is just good fun. Honestly, the film needed a lot more of it and more gore in general. We only get a handful of it and it just isn't enough. But what we get is at least good. And of course, I also need to talk about the acting. Thankfully, none of it is particularly bad, but the direction just doesn't work. Starting out, we have our main character, the Japanese traitor named Saito, played by Dean Fujioka. He's pretty good, all things considered, and while I wish Saito had more of a character to him, Fujioka does a decent job with him. He just needed to emote more, I think. Saito is way too stoic and unemotional for pretty much the entire film that he honestly gets a little boring to watch in the latter half. He's still engaging for the most part, I think, but he just needed a bit more character. And it's clear Fujioka can do that. He plays the lead in a Japanese Sherlock TV series and was even Colonel Mustang in the live-action Full Metal Alchemist movie, so that's something at least. He can definitely act. I haven't seen any of those, but I know he can. He just needed more general direction, I think, and the character needed to be written more emotional. Moving on to his co-lead, we have the English POW named Bronson, played by Callum Woodhouse. Thankfully, this guy has so much more emotion and gets a wider range of experiences to really flesh out his character and make the budding relationship between the two enemies more believable. He definitely follows the trope of helpful white dude just a bit too much, and he could have used just a little more character development, maybe about his past or his wants in general. We only get one moment early on in his introduction, and that's about it. Just a little more would have been welcome, maybe a flashback scene, but otherwise I think he handles it just fine. Woodhouse is in a couple of British TV shows and other low-budget films, and he clearly knows what he's doing. So I think if he can get a big break somewhere, he can make it into the more mainstream movies and TV and be a bigger name. This honestly feels like humble beginnings. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of him in the future. Finally, we have the last notable actor in this, the creature itself, the orang Ikan, played by prolific creature actor Alan Maxon. I'm just gonna say it, this dude seems like such a fun guy. He's done practical monster suits for a bunch of different B movies and even some A movies. Like, he was one of King Ghidorah's heads in King of the Monsters. Come on, that's awesome, I love that. But then he was also in The Gingerweed Man and Evil Bong 666, so okay, he's got quite the repertoire here. He actually directed his own film back in 2023 called Alien Planet. That seems chock full of practical effects and low budget goodness, since I believe it was a college film, but hey, it's available for free online. So I think I'll definitely have to check that one out soon. It seems right up my alley. Maxon just seems like a genuinely fun person in general. Maybe I'll hit him up and see if he'll do an interview for my channel sometime. I think that'd be a lot of fun. What do you guys think? Anyway, back to Monster Island. I think Maxon here is a saving grace. Yeah, he's in a monster suit the entire time, and the film really isn't shot to flatter the suit in any particular way, but Maxon is clearly enjoying himself in it and having a good time regardless, and hey, he's a guy in a practical suit. We love practical monster suits and puppets on this channel and those who operate them. He's clearly the best thing to come out of this movie. Props to you, Maxon. Can't wait to see more of you. Of course, now I need to get into the negatives with this film, so okay. Let's do it. This film, unfortunately, has a lot in that regard. The movie has a lot of heart and clearly a lot of dedication to it, but it falters quite a bit in execution. For one, the story takes a bit of a break about halfway through the film. No spoilers, but the duo of Saito and Bronson are separated at one point, and the film decides to take its time as the two wander about the island separately with their own encounters before finally rejoining to continue the plot. And it feels very much like filler. These scenes don't add anything to the story besides being shot on what I assume is location to show off some caves and interesting freshwater inlets. The rest of the movie takes place on sets, so it's a little weird to see that. It looks like an excuse just to shoot on location. It does kind of help develop the island itself, but none of the locations seen are ever revisited or really add anything to the story. It's very much just 20 minutes of Saito and Bronson wandering around before eventually meeting back up to continue the plot. The only reason I can think of as to why these scenes are included at all is to make sure the film reaches the feature length mark. Without them, the movie could easily fit into an hour length. It's only about 86 minutes as it is, but cut those scenes, the unneeded emotional flashbacks in the resolution that feel like filler, and some general choppiness, and this film could be under 60 minutes long and not lose anything extremely easily. There is just way too much filler. On top of that, the cinematography is also lacking. I mentioned before how it was to the detriment of the monster suit, but also in general, it's not the best. The cinematographer is named Asep Kalila, and frankly, his style confuses me. While most of the movie is shot pretty well, especially in the dark scenes at night where the lighting is generally pretty good, there are a ton of odd choppy takes, especially in the climax, that feel messy and disjointed. Like the film will actively chop up a character running away, interspersed with chopped up shots of them standing still and looking around at their destination. Why? Is this a stylistic choice? It feels messy and confusing. The action shots in general aren't very good either, aside from one or two cool aftermath shots showing a wound or a laceration. I'm inclined to believe that these are stylistic choices. Kalila has plenty of experience as DOP with various other low-budget B movies, so I feel like he knows what he's doing. I just don't think it worked for this particular film. Now, the direction is something else. I think this movie was directed just fine with the acting and the themes, but that it struggled in the writing department. Orang Ikan was directed and written by Mike Wiluan from Singapore, who has a variety of different Indonesian films under his belt, so this isn't his first rodeo. Unfortunately, I think it was a pretty big misstep in regards to writing. It's too little and too simple for what could have been an emotionally complex or fun, campy film had the film had the capability to go that route. The actors could have handled either of those scenarios just fine, I think, but the writing severely held them back. I feel if Wiluan wanted to, he could have cut this down to 60 minutes easily and submitted it for a TV show entry or something, but as a full-length film, it just doesn't work. There are too many issues that drag the overall product down and serve as a detriment. If I were to improve the film, I would need to rewrite a good chunk of it. If it absolutely had to be feature-length, I'd need to scrap half the film and figure out a better theme to tie everything together and either lean heavier on the camp or heavier on the interpersonal relationship and metaphor of the enemies turned friends in wartime. There's just not enough meat here to really justify anything else, so I'd be left with nothing. So overall, I feel this film serves as a cautionary tale. It has great acting, great practical effects, but poor cinematography and even worse writing. It'd be a decent anthology episode in a TV show at best, but instead it ended up a forgettable creature feature that is likely going to get forgotten as other films come out. I still applaud the effort and the product for what it tries to do, but there are so many better films, even better low-budget ones, that know how to tell a campy story with heart. Look at Hellhole. That was a stupid, fun film with a message. Why couldn't this movie follow in those footsteps? I will still give this film credit. The acting is solid. The practical effects are always a plus. But on a fundamental level, it is still lacking heavily, and that's not something a bigger budget would have helped fix. If you want a great low-budget movie with a fish monster and an actually great story with a good metaphor surrounding it, check out Sweetheart on Netflix. I've mentioned it before, but hey, that is what this movie really wanted to be and just couldn't be. So overall, I can't really recommend Monster Island at all. It's fine for what it is, but there's nothing here outside of the acting and Maxon's monster. If you want interesting monster designs and practical costumes, by all means check this one out, but if you want actual story or decent cinematography, you're much better somewhere else. So ultimately, Monster Island or Orang Ikan gets a 5 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. Ooh, I actually had a lot more to say about this film than I expected. I thought it was going to be very cut and dry because, oh boy, this movie was a little rough. I do think it can be fixed. This story can be saved. It just needs a heavy rewrite. There is something here. This just wasn't how to go about it. It can even stay low budget. That's fine. It's a 3-person movie. You have a very small supporting cast of like 8. It's fine. Oh my god, there's so many missed opportunities or just baffling ideas that really strike me here. Again, I really like all the acting. I really like Maxon's performance, and it's very interesting to see him go from Godzilla to a bunch of B movies. I'm still very curious about Evil Bong, but okay, whatever. No, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to review it. Please don't ask me to. It's not for me. I'm not into stoner horror, but anyway. Maybe, who knows? If it'll get views, maybe I'll do it. Okay, anyway, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you like low budget creature features? Do you like practical suits, even if they aren't shot very well? Or maybe there's something with poor acting, but everything else is great. Honestly, kind of reminds me of Ash, but anyway, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. After that, don't forget to subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video. Really helps me grow. And yeah, that's it. I will be at Megaplex this weekend, so if you see me there, say hi. I don't know if I'll have a review out next week. I'll probably take a break, and if so, I'll see you in 2 weeks. That's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo, the fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song on your own, and I'm just a ghost in your stereo.